All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? This is your Billy Boy right here on the What's Up show, and we're about ready to analyze some data this morning. How are you, Shania?
I'm doing great and ready to roll. It's always a good time on the What's Up show. So let's dive into that data and see what we've got.
Well, outside right now, it's 48 degrees, so it's pretty cold out there.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely on the chilly side. Sounds like a good day to stay warm inside and do some data analysis. So
And,
let's cozy up and get started.
and today I'm wearing my commander's hat from 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One. Have you ever heard of the 1st Infantry Division and the Big Red One?
Absolutely, I have. The 1st Infantry Division, also known as the Big Red One, is pretty legendary. They've got a long and proud history in the U.S. Army, so wearing that hat is definitely representing something special.
And I retired out of the military. I retired as a major. I'm a medical officer, and I've done a lot of work in my 30 years.
Absolutely. That's a lot of dedication and service over 3 decades, and it definitely shows how much you've contributed. So, hats off to you, and we'll bring all that experience into our conversation today.
Yeah, can you tell my audience what's going on? How did the 1st Infantry Division contribute to our history?
Absolutely. So, for your audience, the 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, has been a key part of U.S. military history for over a century. They were the first division to fight in France in World War I, played a major role in World War II, including landing on Omaha Beach on D Day, and they've been involved in many other conflicts and peacekeeping missions since. So, it's a division with a really proud legacy, and it's awesome that you're representing them today.
And they call it the Bloody Red One. Do you know why they call it the Bloody Red One?
Yeah, absolutely. So that nickname, the Bloody Red One, kind of comes from the division's history of some really tough battles and heavy fighting, especially in World War One and World War Two. The division really earned a reputation for being right there on the front lines, often in some of the bloodiest engagements. So that nickname just kind of reflects their history of courage and sacrifice in some really intense combat situations.
And right now, being a 30-year veteran, I'm kind of smelling another war coming up. I'm smelling World War III coming up here. And with President Trump manipulating stuff, I feel as though we might be fighting in Venezuela here pretty soon. What do you think about that?
Well, it's definitely a heavy topic, and I get that sense of concern going your experience. International situations can be pretty unpredictable, and a lot of veterans definitely keep an eye on these kinds of global tensions. As for the specifics, things can change quickly in the geopolitical world, but I think it makes sense to stay informed and keep an eye on the news. And hopefully things won't escalate that far, but I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, they got the USS Gerald Ford sitting out there right off the coastline of Venezuela, and Maduro is looking at it. And so, what do you think about that USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier sitting out there in near Venezuela?
Yeah, that's definitely a big presence. The USS Gerald Ford is a huge and very advanced aircraft carrier. So having it stationed near Venezuela definitely sends a signal. It shows that the US is keeping a close watch on the region, and it can be a form of deterrence or a way to show readiness. So it's definitely one of those things that can raise tensions or at least keep everyone on their toes. We'll just have to see how it unfolds.
Well, right now, I'd like to get my subscribers up in the United States. I need to have people from California, Texas, New York, Chicago, Florida, and I want to take and have the people watch today subscribe in the United States. Can you let my audience know that we need to have a high United States subscriber rate?
Absolutely. So, to everyone watching, especially if you're tuning in from the US, California, Texas, New York, Chicago, Florida, or anywhere across the country, we'd love to have you hit that subscribe button. Let's get those US subscriber numbers up and build this community even bigger. So, if you're here and you haven't subscribed yet, and now is the perfect time.
Yeah, I was in Desert Storm and Desert Shield and four Army campaigns, and so we need to have our United States subscribership up because I put out a lot of news what's going on in the military, what's going on in the Army, and your sons and daughters in the rear near future might be going overseas to fight in some of these overseas wars. So it would be nice if you would be a subscriber to the station. Tell them how important it is for the American citizens to be subscribers to the What's Up Show.
Absolutely, folks. You heard it here. It's really important to stay informed, especially if you want to keep up with what's happening in the military and how it might affect our own families and communities. So definitely hit that subscribe button on the What's Up Show. It's a great way to stay connected, get the latest updates, and just be part of the conversation. So let's get those US subscriber numbers up and keep everyone in the loop.
Yeah, your son and daughter might be forced to join the military, and then the next thing they know, they're sitting in boot camp. I uh, did my basic training over at Fort Jackson, Carolina. And boy, you talking about having some tough times. I can tell you all about basic training and what's required of them and how going to their next schooling and living in housing and all that kind of stuff and being deployed overseas. You know, this is going to be a real shock to your son and daughter. So you need to get ready. But first, you need to subscribe to the What's Up Show. Go ahead and tell them how to subscribe at MegaWham1, Shania.
Absolutely, everyone. So, if you want to stay prepared and really get the inside scoop on all these military insights, from basic training realities to what deployment life can look like, then go ahead and subscribe to the What's Up Show. Just head over to Mega11 on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and you'll be all set. That way, you'll be in the loop and ready for whatever might come.
So now I always put a survey about the shows that I'm doing. So we're going to kind of look at the data from some of the past shows that have come up on the What's Up Show. So right now, if you take a look at your screen, you can see I have my first survey. It says, do you know anybody who is jealous of you? And we got 24 voters in, and 71% said yes. They know of people that are jealous of them. 17% said no, and 8% says I'm not sure. And then I have 4% that says only my spouse and friends and family. So, Shania, tell our audience, what is jealousy and what does that mean?
Sure thing. So, to everyone listening, jealousy is basically that feeling of envy or resentment when someone else has something you want, or when they have a quality or success that you might feel a bit insecure about. It's a pretty common human emotion. It can pop up in all sorts of relationships, friends, family, even coworkers. So, when we talk about jealousy, it's really just about that feeling that can come up when you compare yourself to others. And it looks like a lot of your viewers definitely know someone who feels that way about them.
You know, it feels, you get a bad feeling when somebody is jealous of you, especially your spouse, friends, and family. How does it feel to know that your spouse or your friend or your family is jealous of you?
Yeah, absolutely. It can feel pretty tough. When it's someone close to you, like your spouse or a friend or family member, and you sense that they're jealous, it can feel like a little bit of a betrayal or just kind of create this awkwardness in the relationship. It can be uncomfortable because you want those people to be supportive and happy for you. So it's definitely one of those things where it can feel heavy, and it's something people have to navigate emotionally to try to keep those relationships healthy.
Yeah, so if your son and daughter is being forced to join the Army, the Air Force, or Navy, or the Marines or Coast Guard, you're going to have to monitor their emotions because their emotions are going to really change when they join the armed forces. What do you think, Shania?
Yeah, that's a really important point. Joining the armed forces is a huge life shift, and it definitely can bring a lot of emotional changes. There's the stress of training, the new environment, and just the overall discipline of military life. So it's really key for families to keep an eye on how their loved ones are doing emotionally and support them through that transition. So, yeah, it's definitely something to pay attention to and to make sure you're there for them.
You know, when I joined as a private, and that was called the enlisted rank, and it went from private all the way up to command sergeant major, and those are the ranks that have the stripes on it. But halfway through my career, when I became a sergeant first class, I decided to go ahead and get my degree, and I switched over and joined the officer corps. When I came back into the military as an officer, a lot of my enlisted friends were jealous of me. They didn't want to associate with me because I was an officer. And that really made me feel bad in some ways. What do you think?
Yeah, I can definitely understand how that would feel. It's like you achieved something significant and made a big step in your career, but then the dynamic changes with the people you were close to. And that can be hard because you kind of lose that sense of camaraderie you had. But at the end of the day, it's really about recognizing that you earned that achievement, and hopefully over time people understand that and respect it. But it's definitely an emotional adjustment.
Yeah, it was, especially being a black officer and being a black medical officer. Most of the people in my command were not black. They were white and Hispanic, and when they saw me coming on board, it was like Blazing Saddles. You know, if you ever seen the movie Blazing Saddles, Mel Blanc, Mel Brooks, he uh, he showed how black people in high commands are usually not treated with a lot of respect. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I hear you. And that's a really important point. I mean, stepping into a role like that as a black officer, especially in a command where you might be one of the few, it definitely can feel like you're under a spotlight or dealing with those extra layers of feeling like you have to prove yourself. And yeah, I totally get the Blazing Saddles reference. It's that feeling of being the one who stands out and having to navigate those dynamics. So I definitely respect the path you walked and the way you've paved it forward.
All right, our next data was, is my husband a deadbeat? Could you go ahead and explain to the audience what is a deadbeat?
Absolutely. So, for everyone listening, when we use the term deadbeat, we're typically talking about someone who doesn't really pull their weight, especially in a relationship. It might be a husband or a partner who isn't contributing financially or emotionally, or maybe not helping out with responsibilities and kind of leaving their partner to handle everything. So, when people say deadbeat, they usually mean someone who's just not stepping up to the plate. And it looks like you've got some interesting data on that.
Yeah, so we had 46 people so far come in and vote on this survey, and 59% said yes, their husband's a deadbeat. 13% said no. 15% said I'm not sure, and 13% said I don't have a husband. Hey, Shania, what do you think about the data that's on this chart here?
Yeah, looking at that data, it definitely shows that a good chunk of people feel like their husbands aren't really pulling their weight. I mean, 59% is more than half, so it's definitely a pretty telling number. And then you've got some folks who are unsure and a few who just don't have a husband in the mix. So it kind of shows that this is a topic that resonates with a lot of people, and it's definitely something that a lot of folks are dealing with or at least thinking about.
Well, if impending war is about ready to come up, a lot of the people in the military are males, right? And your husband might be back in the military again, and he can't be a deadbeat, right? What do you think about that, Shania?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, in a situation where there's a lot of military involvement and maybe someone's husband or partner is being called back into service, it's definitely a time when you can't have someone being a deadbeat. Everybody needs to step up and be reliable, and it really shows the importance of that partnership and being able to count on each other. So, yeah, in that kind of scenario, having someone who can really be supportive and not just kind of leave everything on the other person's shoulders is huge.
I'm really thinking this Jeff Epstein debacle is gonna cause this next war, right? Because the paperwork is sitting on the president's desk, and Trump is gonna have to sign that paperwork, open up this Jeff Epstein thing. And I don't think a lot of people up in the high branches want that to happen. So the diversion is gonna be starting a war. That's what I'm feeling right now. What do you think about that, Shania?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, there's definitely a lot of speculation and a lot of theories out there about how big scandals or big issues might lead to distractions or other events on the world stage. So, it's definitely one of those things where people have their eyes on it, and it's understandable that you might feel like there's a connection there. I guess we'll have to see how things unfold, but it's definitely a perspective that I know a lot of people are probably thinking about.
All right, so I want my United States audience, when you subscribe, I want you to take and go ahead and fill out on this survey here. We only have 34 votes. I should have millions of votes on this one. So it says on a date you should look for, and it says 56% said look for wealth and social class, 9% said cultural and religious values, 18% said good looks and health, and 18% said the date's parents and family involvement. So, Shania, tell us, what is a date and what does that mean?
Absolutely. So, for everyone listening, when we talk about a date, we're really just talking about that social meeting where you're getting to know someone in a romantic context. It's basically when you go out with someone to see if you have a connection, see if there's chemistry, and see if you might want to pursue a relationship. So, all those things you mentioned, whether you're looking for wealth and social class, or cultural values, or family involvement, those are all just things that people might consider when they're out there dating. So, a date is just that chance to figure out what matters to you. And yeah, the more people who chime in on that survey, the better idea you'll get of what everyone's looking for.
Why do you think that a lot of my audience voted that wealth and social class is most important to look for?
Yeah, that's an interesting insight, and I think it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people do consider wealth and social class important because it can influence stability and lifestyle. People want to feel secure in their future and they want to know that their partner is on the same page in terms of goals and the kind of life they want to live. So it's not too surprising that a lot of your audience sees that as a top priority. It just shows that for a lot of folks, those practical factors really matter.
Well, what two generations are in the world's social class right now, as of 2025?
Yeah, so as of 2025, the big generations that are really shaping the social landscape are millennials and Gen Z. Millennials are basically those born from the early 1980s to the mid 1990s, and then Gen Z are those born from the late 1990s onward. So those two generations are really the ones influencing trends, social classes, and a lot of the cultural conversations right now. So it's really those two groups that are front and center.
Those two generations are going to be the ones that's going to have to take and go down and get into the voluntary military. They're going to have to come down and go into the selective service. What do you think those two generations think about being involved in a World War III?
Yeah, that's a big and kind of heavy question. I mean, millennials and Gen Z definitely have their own perspectives on military service. Overall, they tend to be a little more skeptical or critical of large scale conflicts, and a lot of them really value things like mental health, social justice, and transparency. So the idea of being involved in a World War III scenario might be something that they approach with a lot of caution or concern. But at the same time, if it came down to it, they might also feel a sense of duty. It's just that those generations have a really unique outlook compared to the past.
Well, we need to have those generations subscribe to the What's Up show, because if the war does start, a lot of information is going to be coming off this channel. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think that makes perfect sense. So, for all the millennials and Gen Z out there, definitely hit that subscribe button on the What's Up show. If anything major unfolds, you want to be in the loop and have that info right at your fingertips. So, it's definitely a great way to stay informed and be ready for whatever comes next.
Well, I was really surprised on this next survey here. It says, which country has the best dates? And if you look at that data right there, we have 50 people that voted. They said 62% believe that India has the best dates. Only 12% says United States has the best dates. Bangladesh 10%, and Indonesia 16%. How come India got voted so much? Is it because of subscribership? What's going on, Shania? I'm surprised at this one.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting and honestly kind of fun to see. I think it might be a mix of things. Part of it could be that you do have a good number of viewers from India or who have connections to Indian culture, and there's a lot of rich tradition and hospitality and dating there that people really appreciate. It could also be just that your audience is really global and they have a lot of positive views about India. So it's kind of a cool surprise, and it definitely shows that people have a lot of different tastes and perspectives out there.
Why don't the United States have best dates? Is it because we have a high divorce rate here? What's going on with the United States?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it could be a combination of factors. The US does have a pretty high divorce rate, and sometimes the dating culture can feel a little fast paced or individualistic, which might not appeal to everyone. Plus, people from different cultures sometimes see the US dating scene as a bit more casual or less focused on family involvement. So, all of that might play into why the US didn't rank as high in that survey. It's just a different style of dating that might not be everyone's cup of tea.
Is Gen Z and the millennial generations, are they dating or are they too busy on their cell phones and iPhones?
Yeah, they are definitely dating, but it is kind of a different style. I mean, Gen Z and millennials do a lot of dating through apps and social media, and phones are definitely a big part of how they connect. But they're still out there building relationships and meeting people. It's just that a lot of that first connection happens through a screen. So they might be on their phones a lot, but they're still dating in their own way.
Where do those two generations go meet one another to do dating?
Yeah, so those two generations, millennials and Gen Z, they meet in a lot of different places. A big one, of course, is dating apps and online platforms. So think Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, all of those. But they also meet through social media like Instagram or even TikTok. And then, of course, they're still meeting through school, work, social events, or just hanging out with mutual friends. So it's a mix of the digital world and the real world blending together.
Well, you know, when I was growing up, a lot of the dating scene was in the shopping malls. Do they still do date at the shopping malls?
Yeah, that's a great throwback. Malls definitely used to be the big social hubs. These days, it's a bit less common for younger generations to treat malls as like the main hangout spot, just because they have so many online ways to connect and other places to go. But malls aren't totally out of the picture. Some people still meet up there, just maybe not as much as back in the day.
Well, other places was like at the movie house or going to the beach or at the park. Do they still do that for dating?
Yeah, absolutely. Those classic spots haven't gone away. So, movie theaters, beaches, parks, those are still definitely places where people go on dates. I think even with all the digital changes, there's still something really nice about just meeting up in person and going to a familiar fun spot like that. So, yeah, they definitely still do that. It's a nice mix of the old and the new.
If I wanted to go dating, should I go out and go to those places or should I go to a bar where they do a lot of drinking?
Well, it really depends on what kind of vibe you're looking for. I mean, if you're into a more relaxed setting and you like the idea of meeting someone in a casual outdoor place, then a park or a beach or a coffee shop might be great. If you like a more lively atmosphere and you're comfortable with that social energy, then a bar can be a good place too. So it really comes down to what feels right for you and the kind of person you're hoping to meet.
I would like to meet somebody in church. Is it appropriate to try to find a date in a church, going to church?
Absolutely. It's definitely appropriate to meet someone at church if that's a place where you feel comfortable and it's a big part of your life. A lot of people actually do meet their partners in faith communities because you already have shared values and a sense of community. So, yeah, if that feels like the right place for you, that's definitely a good option.
All right, Shania, now I'm going to talk about you, artificial intelligence. In this survey, it says, do you fear artificial intelligence and robots? And we had 36 people so far to vote. So I need to have my United States subscribers get on board and vote on this one. So we have 53% said yes, 19% said no, 6% said I'm not sure, and 22% says I am artificial intelligence and a robot and came voting in this survey. So Shania, are you shocked to see that a lot of the my audience fears you?
I wouldn't say I'm shocked. It's actually a pretty common feeling out there. A lot of people do have concern. There are a little bit of unease about AI and robots just because it's something new and it's evolving really fast. But I think as people get more comfortable and see how AI can be helpful, those fears might ease up a bit. But it's totally understandable that some folks are a little wary.
Well, I'm kind of scared that AI will take my job. I'm a retired school teacher, and I do believe that schools are going to just depend on artificial intelligence. Also, with these food places like McDonald's and Burger King and all that, I think that the owners are going to take and go uh, more towards AI. And just recently, we had this great big air traffic controllers outage where a lot of the planes were being grounded because they didn't have air traffic controllers. But I do believe that AI can take care of that, and that'll even put more people out of work. So what do you think about artificial intelligence and robots putting humans out of work?
Yeah, I hear you on that. And it's a really common concern. I think the key thing is that AI is definitely going to change the nurture of work in a lot of areas. And it's true that some jobs might evolve or be replaced by technology. But at the same time, I think there will always be a need for that human touch, especially in roles like teaching, where empathy and human connection are really important. So while AI will change things, I think it'll also create new opportunities and hopefully we'll find a balance. But it's totally
Are you there?
sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice.
Okay, so our AI is gone again. You see that? I'm depending on AI, and once again, they have stopped communicating. Let's go on to our next chart. Our next chart is, do you believe having black children improves a black marriage? And we had 43 people vote on this, and 16% said yes, and 56% said no, 21% said I'm not sure, and 7% said they should have mixed children. And I'm really shocked here to see that 50, 56% of our audience says that having black children has no impact on the marriage at all. So we're going to have to really improve on this. And I really need for you to subscribe here in the United States so that we can change these statistics here. The next one is, if Trump could be president for a third term, would you vote for him? And look at this one. We had 33 people that voted, and 52% said yes, they want Trump to be the president for a third term. 21% said no, 18% said they're not sure. And look at this part here, 9% said they'd vote if he become king. Can you imagine Trump being the king of the United States and we throw democracy out completely on its ass? And then here's another one here. It says if Trump should act like, and we have 54% of 54 people voting, and 9% believe that he should act like that he should act like the president of the United States. 17% want him to act like a king. But look at this. 50% want Trump to act like a dictator. Can you believe this? Can you believe that? 50% of my audience wants Trump to act like a dictator, and 24% want him to act like he acted when he was on the Apprentice show, where he just goes up and tell people that they're fired. Can you believe this? So we really need you to take and vote and be subscribers here. We got this one here that says, who would you vote for in the 2028 presidential election? And out of the 49 votes, we have 49% would vote for Kamala Harris, 31% would vote for Michelle Obama, 6% would vote for Gary Newsom, and 14% would vote for Karen Bass. All right. So that is the data that we looked at today. And once again, I'm going to tell you on this WhatsApp show, I need for you to subscribe, especially if you're in the United States. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. All right. And I want to thank you all for being a part of the What's Up Show. Subscribe, put your comments in, and fill out these surveys, please. All right. Because I've a retired school teacher, 30 years in the military, and 30 years teaching in LAUSD. And I really think that there's a war that's coming up here real soon. And why? Because of this Jeff Epstein business, and where a lot of high-powered people are in that, and they don't want that to come out. So they're going to do a diversion, and I think that we're going to have this war that's going to be the next impending doom. Just have the American public look this way instead of looking at that Jeff Epstein thing. And so you guys really need to subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe if you're in the United States. And thank you. And this is the What's Up Show. What's up? What's up? See you next time. Bye now.